I asked ChatGPT for music marketing advice, and I was actually pretty shocked to see the results. So in this video, we're going to open up ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok and ask it for help to market a kind of imaginary single to see what advice each of these services give. And I'm going to give you my critique on how good or bad they are, and I think you will find this very interesting. The first thing we have to do is come up with our prompt. And I don't want to get too crazy with this. We could write this gigantic thing with all this context and all this information about the project, and that would definitely make this better. I'm really just going for more broad tactics here, not something that's laser specific and ironed out. But just keep in mind, AI tools like this are only as good as the stuff you put into them, right? If you just ask, help me with blah, it's not as valuable as giving it a page of information and having it go process stuff. There are great ways to use AI. There are bad ways to use AI. This is kind of in the middle, but we're just kind of fishing for information. So what I want to say is I'm looking for help marketing my band every waking moment. Latest single, Cold. We have a 1,000 USD budget for marketing, and we need help. Please give me specific tactics to try and where I can use my time/budget as if you were a music marketing expert. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to click send. That's going to get cracking. We're going to go over to Gemini, and I'm in Pro mode. So this is the best model. We're in ChatGPT 5, I think it is. ChatGPT 5. We're in Gemini 2.5 Pro. I don't know what version of Grok this is. They're all going to get cracking. ChatGPT's already done, so let's walk through. Got it. Let's build a focused plan for every waking moment. Cold with your $1,000 budget. I'll treat this like I'm running the campaign for you, breaking down budget allocation, tactics, and time investment. Overall strategy: grow streams, get new fans, and build your audience ecosystem. Spotify, social, YouTube. This is actually another thing you could clarify if you were looking to have AI give you more useful information. You know, for example, you could tell them what your actual goals are, right? It's just assuming, right? But if I told it I only care about email list growth, it'll change this whole thing entirely, right? It's assuming these are my goals. Approach: use paid ads to generate discovery, supported by organic and community strategies, core channels, meta ads, YouTube ads, TikTok, playlisting, press PR outreach. All right, now, cool. One thing to keep in mind is ChatGPT does have memory, and it does remember stuff from previous chats. So one thing I noticed further down about the, it knows that my band is alternative metal. So it already has some information about that, but we'll get to that when we come in. So here's a smart allocation that balances risk and growth. So it's saying we would do $400 meta, $200 YouTube, TikTok/boosting $100, playlist pitching, indie creator submit hub $150, and PR niche blogs Reddit ads $100, and reserve buffer $50. So this is not what my initial assumption would be. A lot of people, when they ask me like how should I spend $1,000, I'll say if you have a music video, do like a $50 to $100 in YouTube ads, do like maybe $50 in Submit Hub, and then do the rest in Meta. So it might be, for example, $850 Meta ads. It might be $100 YouTube and $50 Submit Hub. If you don't have a music video, it might be $925 Meta ads, $75 Submit Hub, or it might even be all 1,000 Meta ads. Typically, I would not do boosting for organic. But let's go through the weeds on the details here to see if that changes my opinion of anything. Overall, the strategies are good, right? It's recommending meta ads, it's recommending YouTube ads, it's recommending organic content. So the meta ads is saying run a conversion campaign, send people to Spotify, Apple, use 15 to 30 second vertical video snippets of the song, hook early, test 2 to 3 audiences, fans of similar bands, Bad Omens, Sleep Token, Periphery, lookalikes if you have fan email or pixel data, broad metal alt rock interest-based targeting, like pretty sweet advice. Like in terms of ad strategy, if I was summarizing in like a few bullet points how to run a campaign like this is pretty much exactly what I would say. Optimize for Spotify saves follows. So this is actually different and not really correct. You're really optimizing for conversions on a landing page, which might, if it's a pre-save campaign, involve saves and followers, but most of the time it's not. It's just a conversion from the landing page to the streaming service. So this is actually false. So little ding for ChatGPT here. YouTube ads, skippable in-stream. I wouldn't do skippable in-stream. I would do, I've heard they're called this. They were used to be called Discovery, but now they're called in-feed ads. And now they've kind of rebranded again to be Like they have the subscriptions and engagement objective that turns into like a demand gen campaign. So this is actually a little bit out of date. This isn't like a horrible strategy, but it's not the best that I would recommend. Make 5 to 10 TikTok reel drafts, lyric highlights, behind the scenes, performance cuts, reactions, and then boost your best performing one. This actually is good advice. I'm actually a little bummed it's only saying to do 5 to 7 TikTok reels. I really think anyone should do much more than that for a new song, ideally. Now, in my case, if you look at my band's Instagram, you're going to be like, Andrew, you did like 2. That's because I just don't have time. So, you know, in that case, like, we're not a super active project. We're not posting a bunch of social media. We have lives, right? But if you're trying to do this to the best of your ability, you should be posting on social media more than this, unfortunately. And granted, that's not for everyone. Different genres, all different things. So there are artists that are successful doing less. But ideally, you would do more. The PR niche blogs thing, I don't think you're going to get much value for $100 here. So I would probably skip this as well. Reddit ads is an interesting thing. Redditors are very hard to get interested in ads, so I don't anticipate this going very well. But it might be worth an experiment. Like, I have seen people use Reddit ads for like a very specific song with a very specific lyrical integration, targeting like the subreddit where that song was inspired by, which was very cool, and it actually had good result. So it knows things about me, which is how it was able maybe to give me better advice on the ad side than it might be able to give for you. But that is not the case for Gemini. This is a great budget to make a real impact if you use it wisely. As a music marketing expert, I'm going to give you a detailed phased approach for your single Cold. The foundation: before you spend a dime, before you launch a campaign, you need to have your digital house in order. Spending money to send people to broken or incomplete online presence is a waste. Okay, this is some good advice. Make sure you have Spotify for artists, Apple Music for artists set up. Make sure you have single artwork. Make sure you have some press photos, create an EPK, identify your niche. What does every recommend sound like? Be specific. Is it early, bring me the horizon, Beartooth, a day to remember? Okay, so make a list of 10 to 15 similar sounding artists. This is all great advice, actually, I will say. Save the entire budget for the release push when the song is actually live. This is actually typically what I would recommend. In most cases, save all your money for when the release is live. It's actually eerily similar to the ChatGPT one. It's mostly meta ads. There's no YouTube ads, but there is a little bit of PR, some TikTok reels. This is actually for hiring influencers, so that's an interesting recommendation. This is probably like Submit Hub and stuff. So that's interesting. I don't want to harp on every single detail, but I'm noticing that the type of campaign it's saying is actually bad advice. Running a traffic campaign is kind of a waste of money. You really want to be using a conversion objective with a landing page. You don't want to be using a cold targeting thing, sending people directly with no pixel tracking. That's not going to work. Like you can do cold targeting like to strangers. It's just a matter of you need a landing page and you need a pixel set up and conversion tracking. So that is a big X for me. And then spending this much for video views engagement, I also think is a waste. Overall, like Gemini was starting on, I really like their preface here about like you should have all this stuff in order. You should have a strategy. You should do that. That's great. But it appears it's not very cutting edge with its music marketing information. And I don't know if ChatGPT is either. It might just be going off of my previous like tons of conversations that I've had with ChatGPT in the past. Now going over to Grok. Grok is X's or Twitter's AI thing, and it's actually really cool in certain things. It tends to be a little unhinged. Like they kind of open the floodgates on it a lot more, so it's willing to go kind of off the rails. So I'm kind of most excited to see what this does. Increase streams, grow your fan base, drives visibility, build long-term assets like an email list, social media. This is saying digital ads $600, content creation $250. So it's actually allocating budget for content creation. Email marketing and contest giveaways, which is interesting. Meta ads $400, and then YouTube ads $150, and then Spotify playlisting $50. Actually, I mean, like as I said, in my experience, I would probably do even less YouTube ads and a little bit more meta. But the playlist promo $50, and like the spread through all of this is actually like pretty good, honestly. Drive traffic to a Spotify link or landing page. See below. Monitor performance daily. Expect $400 to generate 5,000, 10,000 impressions and 500 to 1,000 clicks, which is, let me do some math. So this math comes out to between 80 cents and 40 cents a conversion, which is a like realistic result. It's not like a great result, but it's realistic, right? Like ideally you'd have under 40 cents for a good performing campaign. Maybe at like 20 would be great result, and 80 would be a pretty bad result. But like I think this is a realistic assumption to set for people, especially because it does depend on the countries as well. There's all these nuances for it. And it says see below for the landing page. So I wonder if somewhere else it's going to talk about the landing page setup, but it doesn't look like it. So I wonder if that's just a glitch that it said see below. But it did say conversion campaign, so that's cool. Create a 15-second video featuring catchy hook from cold, engaging visuals, band performance, and imagery. Use meta ads, target fans of your genre. Alt rock, target bands like the Killers, Magic Dragons, at a budget for $10 a day for 40 days. Test and optimize. Overall, pretty solid advice in my opinion. Key music markets, I think, is actually bad advice. Like U.S. cities like LA, New York, Nashville, the most expensive place to run ads. There are reasons you would do that, like from a touring perspective, but from like a triggering the algorithm and Spotify perspective, not really a good advice in most cases. Now, content creation is interesting. $250 in content creation is interesting. So this is a mixed bag. There are some very nice things about this, but definitely not perfect. Like I would never, like if someone came to me and said I have $1,000 for my song, I'm not gonna count the cost of setting up a website and their email platform in the cost of that single, right? There are certain costs as a band that are just like overhead for the whole band, and there are other costs that are song by song costs, right? Like production on a song, marketing on a song is for a song, but there's other things like a website, a mailing list, that's like a band cost, or buying lighting equipment. That's a band cost, it's not a song cost. So it's a little strange that it puts some of these things as like a song cost. All right, so what I've done here is I've gone into an incognito tab where I'm not logged in, so ChatGPT should have no idea who I am or know anything about me because there's no previous conversations. Interesting is that the first thing I noticed is that it's already saying fans of limited bands, Deftones, Breaking Benjamin, Bad Omens, Sleep Token. I don't think it was necessarily pulling that because it knew me from my previous conversations. Obviously it does. I think it was just looking up our band, because how else would it know this? I guess like IP address, but I'm not logged into anything. Like, and I think it's just pulling this information online. Like it's found that Every Waking Moment is like a hard rock alternative metal band, and there's probably certain places online that mention, like in comparing our band to other bands, they might mention these bands, and that's how it's found this out. That's my best guess. So interesting, but let's see how it differs in the marketing strategy, because this shouldn't have information about me. It still is recommending meta ads the biggest line item for marketing, but there actually is also a content creation tab, promo clips, reels, lyric video, which it's a good thing to count on the marketing spend, I guess, because like it is a marketing expense if you're not doing it yourself. Personally, like I usually don't include that because I'm kind of assuming that's covered from a different budget. A lot of artists I work with, they'll have like an ad budget that's different from like the overall budget, right? They're like, I have $5,000 to make this record, and that includes the production and the mixing and the mastering and creating content. But then there's like, it's like we have $2,500 for making all that stuff and $2,500 for the actual ad spend or something, right? It depends on the artist, but I usually put that as a separate line item in my opinion. That's just a nuance. The meta ad portion in particular, this is the thing where it know the most about me, is drive listeners to Spotify, build lookalikes, conversion to a link click to cold on Spotify. It's got the specific bands, it's got the locations, which are great rock markets, and included Brazil, Mexico too, which is cheaper markets. Use a short vertical video clip with hook in the first 3 seconds. Listen now or hear cold out now on Spotify. And it's actually recommending Tone and Feature FM as landing page solutions, which is interesting. Which they're both options. I don't recommend Tone anymore just because it's kind of a dying platform in a way, but Feature FM is often what I'm recommending to people. Now, I will say I'm usually not going to recommend a influencer, like a micro-influencer campaign, really at any scale, because honestly, I found this just does nothing. Every time I remember last year I was attending this talk on music marketing, and as soon as they started going into that, their main focus was on micro-influencer campaigns. My eyes started like glossing over. I'm like, this is not the jam, right? Like there are places where you can pull magic off with micro-influencer campaigns, but for the most part, I have never seen anyone get any substantial results with this, especially not for $150. Usually it's something you have to do in scale. thousands of dollars on an influencer campaign to get anything worthwhile. So overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with the music marketing strategies that all three of these chatbots put out. There's definitely things that were wrong in every single one of them. They're not necessarily wrong, just things that I wouldn't do. But actually, they all did have some type of inaccuracy or way that it would actually just result in you just wasting your money entirely, like running a traffic campaign when you should run a conversion campaign, or let's allocate money to a micro influencer campaign, etc. Things that just most reasonable people would never advise, like most experts, I mean, that do this, or people that work in this industry would never advise. But it's a reasonable starting point. Like, I think if you were just like, you need in a bind, you want like a generic idea of what to do, you can kind of get an overall strategy at first glance. And then from there, go find the resources in each of those categories to learn more about them, right? Like then from there, you know, okay, apparently meta ads is an important thing. I'm going to go look up meta ads on YouTube and learn some stuff. And then you find my videos. So, and actually on that note, check out this video to see an entire video from start to finish and how you can learn meta ads from your music on Spotify. So it's a good starting point, but that's when you should go down the rabbit hole and learn from videos like that. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you next one. Bye.